Wednesday, March the 18th. You can see I'm in my bibs. I just got off the lake, and it's nasty and cold out there. I don't mind the wind or the rain or the cold. I just hate all three of them at the same time. But it's been 2 weeks since I've done a fishing report. I was in Mississippi last week. Lake level's come up a bunch. It's come up, it's like 914 and a half. It's come up 5 foot in the last week. And it's probably going to continue to come up because we're getting quite a bit of rain, today and tonight. They're not generating too awful much water. But the water temperature, the last few days, if you're in the clear water, it seems like it's still right around 48 degrees. Excuse me. Now, where the water's been coming in the river arms, a lot of 50, 52 degree water. And I've started to figure something out where that clean water and dirty water is coming together. It seems to be a pretty good jerkbait bite. Not in the real dirty water, but right where it meets the clear water. And every day it's moving depending on how much water they're generating. But where that warmer water is, I've talked to some guys that have been catching them on crankbaits real good. They've been catching them on a little 3X Strike King. Also some on Wiggle Wart and some on the new Spros. Red seems to be the color that's working the best. Red with a little black, or maybe even, depending on how dirty the water, even some chartreuse and black. Now, a spinnerbait. Well, a lot of things are going to start to work. It's going to be cold for the next day or two, but when that sun gets out, that water that's in the river arms where it's stained is going to warm up 4 or 5 degrees quicker than the clear water is. And one thing that'll start working, I've been throwing it a little bit. We caught some fish on it yesterday afternoon, but it's a slow roll on a War Eagle spinnerbait in that stained water. And I'm just fishing it along a lot of the transition banks back into creeks around secondary points. The jerkbait bite that I was talking about, where you look for that off-colored water, is on main lake and secondary points where the wind is blowing. Now, the main lake, the water is so clear, it's probably got 18, 20 foot of visibility. If you don't have any wind, I've had a hard time getting bit on either a jerkbait or an Alabama rig. This past weekend, we fished a tournament Sunday, and we didn't get out till late in the day. We didn't get out till like 11 o'clock because of the fog, but there was a lot of good fish caught. And the majority of them fish, I think the better ones were caught on an Alabama rig. So there's still a good Alabama rig bite, and that's going to continue. But with this water rising, there's just going to be a lot of things that are going to start coming into play. I haven't had much of a bottom bite, but I'm starting to catch them a little bit on a crankbait, and there'll also be a jig bite, a wobblehead bite in this stained water. See, these fish are so far behind right now. Our water temperature's way behind. Normally in another week or so, we'd have fish, hitting the bed, starting to spawn. But I think it's going to be, depending on the weather, but probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks. But them fish are just right outside the areas where they're going to spawn, staging, getting ready to come in. All they want, a little bit more water temperature rise, and they'll be right in there on the bank. But they're just outside of where they're going to spawn, either on the mouths of the spawning pockets or on these rock transitions where it goes from big rock to little rock. Now, jerkbait that I found has been working pretty good for me in that off-colored water. Now, this is a Spro, but it's a bone color. And it seems to be working for me, like I say, a little bit better in the off-colored water. And then the clear water, I'm still using like a Pro Blue or something that looks like a shad or a translucent bait. Another spinnerbait you might try if you get further up in the river arms where the water is real dirty. I like to throw this time of year. It's a War Eagle, either 3/8 or a ½ ounce, but it's got a gold Indiana blade and a red Colorado kicker. And what you want to do is, this bait will fall real slow because of the big blades, but you want to just reel it real slow. It's got a good thumper blade on it if you're in that real muddy water. And there's quite a bit of that right now in the upper river arms, that muddy water. But as soon as that sun gets out, it'll be up into the 60s real quick. This past weekend, Sunday, we found a lot of water in the 55-degree range, but it had just warmed up. It usually takes 3 or 4 days of that increased water temperature before you actually see them fish move up into that. So I think things are going to get really good. I mean, for the most part, it's still been a grind. You know, like I say, yesterday afternoon I figured some things out in that stained water, but in the clear water, I've had very little grub bite, and I've had a hard time getting bit on the jerkbait unless I get some wind. Now, I can get bit in that clear water on an Alabama rig, but I've got to get the bait down there about 30 foot over some deep submerged timber. But the bites have been few and far between. Like this past Sunday, I think we had 2 bites on the Alabama rig. They were both 4.5 pounders, and we had a couple 3 pounders on a jerkbait, which I thought was pretty good considering we didn't get out till late in the day. So we got to fish, 4 hours in the afternoon when it was dead slick with no clouds and no wind. But like I say, on that A-rig, if you're fishing it, you got to fish it deep and fish it slow. So look for things to really pick up as soon as that sunshine comes out. Looks like the weather's supposed to warm up this weekend, so we should have that sunshine. And water's probably still going to come up another 1.5 foot or so. May even start to get some water up in the bushes, which will be good. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.